All right, the next question is, what is the difference between break and continue when we're in loops? So let's do this. Let's say I have 1 for 1 character in A, B, C, D, E. Print 1 character. Okay, so far so good. How's this working? Well, for turns to our string, asks it, are you iterable? The answer is yes. And then it says, okay, since you're iterable, give me your next thing, your next thing, your next thing, until it gets to the end. And for each thing it gets, every time it says, give me your next thing, it assigns it to 1 character. And then inside of the loop body, 1 character is equal to A, B, C, D, and E. Here our loop body is obviously very, very short. So far, so good. So break, continue allow us to stop the normal flow within the loop. Because what normally happens is the entire loop body is going to execute, and then we're going to come back for the next iteration. Give me your next. Loop body, give me your next. Loop body, give me your next. Break allows us to say, wait a second, there's some situations in which I want to just get out of this loop. So I can say, for example, if 1 character equals C, break. And this means stop the for loop right now. And sure enough, A and B, and that's it. And in fact, if I say here, print start, let's put some stars there, because we want to make it really cool and aesthetic, yeah? And I'll say here, print end. So you can see that we have start, A, B, and end. Because what's going on? Well, we get to, for 1 character in A, well, it's not C. B, it's not C. C, oh, that's C. So we break right away. So break allows us to exit from a loop right away. And this is true in a for loop, and it's also true in a while loop. So I can say here, for example, while, let's do this. I can say here, x equals 5. And then while x is greater than 0, then we'll say here, print x, and then x minus equals 1. And so we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But I can also say something like this. I can say here, if x equals 2, break. And so 5, 4, 3, we're stopped, we're stopped there. So break allows us to break out of it. It's pretty common, actually, to do this sort of thing. I'd say while true. There we go. Now we've got an infinite loop. Always good, as I like to say, if you charge by the hour. So now what I can do is I can say name equals input. Enter your name. We'll do a strip on that. And then I can say here, if not name, meaning, did we get a blank string? If so, break. In all other cases, because if I got past that if statement, I know that it's not true, then I can say print, hello, name. And so, blah, 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 enter, and there we go, we stopped. So what we did here was use the break in order to ensure that we will exit our infinite loop at some point. And I basically said, if we get an empty string from the user, or it's effectively an empty string from the user, then we will break out of the loop. So that's break. Break says we are stopping right now. By the way, if you have nested loops, a loop inside of another loop, break only breaks out of the inner loop, or the loop in which it is inside of. So you can't break out multiple levels. So what's this continue thing? How does continue work? Well, watch this. I'm going to just copy my code from above in my for loop. And I'm now going to say start, for 1 character in A, B, C, D, E, if 1 character, and I'm going to say here, continue. And what continue means is stop the current iteration right now. Meaning we're going to say A, B, we get to C, and it says, continue, meaning go back to the for loop for the next round, for the next thing we need. Okay, so it means that we're not going to break out of the loop entirely. We're just stopping this iteration. So you see I have A, B, D, and E. And it's pretty common to do this if, for example, you're reading through a file, and there's certain kinds of lines you're going to want to ignore. So here I can say, for 1 line in open, etc password. And say here, print 1 line. Okay. And you can see here that we have a whole bunch of comment lines, and then we have lines with usernames in them. If you're not familiar with etc password, that's okay. These are the lines that are of interest to me. So what I can do is I can say here, if 1 line starts with # continue, meaning go on to the next line. The next line or iteration. Otherwise, we do a print line of it. Let's say we do a split on :0, and that means print the username. Meaning, if it doesn't start with a #, then I know that it contains a user database, and I can take the line, split it by colon, and grab the first element from there, and sure enough, we've got that. And so this sort of thing in a loop, where you have the easy pickings at the beginning there, we have all sorts of things when you want to say, okay, here I want to stop here, I want to stop here, I want to stop here, all of those you can do continue. So break and continue are both control facilities, both control commands within a loop. If you try to use them outside of a loop, they just won't work. So if I say break here or continue here, it says, hey, break outside of loop, continue not properly in loop. You can't do that. But inside of loops, they can work, and you might even want to have both of them. You might want to have a loop in which it checks the values, and if the value is not good, then it'll do continue. But if the value is good and just empty, say you want to break out, you can use break. I tend to use break and continue all the time, certainly in my for loops, and I would say in my while loops as well. So I use them in all my loops. There you go.